This video is brought to you by anti-gravity lithium-ion batteries used by Monster Energy Star Racing Yamaha and Monster Energy Kawasaki and many more teams. And you can use the same battery as Eli Tomac, Jason Anderson, and others. Anti-gravity batteries offer more power and capacity than the competitors because they give you a larger lithium battery pack. But additionally, they offer features like the world's first batteries with built-in jump starting that will never leave you stranded. So check them out at antigravitybatteries.com.
Hey guys and gals, welcome into RacerXOnline.com. I'm Kris Keefer. You're staring at, to the right of me, the testing technician at Yamaha, the guy responsible, well, not the guy, one of the guys responsible for bringing this machine to market. Travis Preston to the right of me, 2002 125 West Coast Supercross champion. We are here today, of course, you guys know, at the Yamaha Star Racing facility, which is the Goat Farm, formerly known. Lots of blood, sweat, and tears have been, performed on this track. But we are here to talk about 23 YZ450F, the most anticipated bike of 2023. I feel like this has been a long-awaited machine, and if you guys go onto other forums on other websites, man, people are just biting their nails waiting for this thing. So, Travis, I brought you in here really quick just to give an overview of this bike. What has changed? I know most of the whole bike has changed, but what was Yamaha's R&D goal for this 2023 model?
I think we kind of had four main goals when we started this. We wanted to make it more lightweight, we wanted to make it handle better, we wanted to improve front traction, we wanted to increase I think the old engine felt a little short, so we wanted it to be longer pulling, but also we wanted to control the power down low. We wanted to feel comfortable to roll it on, second gear coming out of a corner. So we wanted to smooth the power out, but keep it long. And then we also wanted to maintain the stability of the old chassis, because I feel like that was one of the strong points of the bike.
Yeah. So how long has this bike been going on? Like, people out there, I want to know, hey Keefer, what's it like to test a motorcycle that's brand new? How long are you testing it for? When did this motorcycle start for you guys? What year?
Well, I don't know if they want me to say exactly when it started, but I can tell you it was pre-COVID.
Yep.
And I can tell you, for me, being a Yamaha doing this for 8 years, this is the most testing I've ever done on one model.
Okay, so this is the most influence you've had on a motorcycle since you've been with Yamaha.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so last question before Dallas and I get here and talk about this bike, because we don't want you here when we talk about it, in case you get upset. But
No, I'm going to listen. I'm going to stand right there and listen.
You ride a lot, you get a lot of input on this motorcycle, so when we're here and you get to see this bike to fruition and see all of us riding out there, how rewarding is that for you?
Yeah, it's very exciting, because we've been working on this for a while now, and I feel like it's a better motorcycle, and I know how much you guys like to ride, so yeah, it's very exciting for us to sit back and watch you guys ride an awesome track, but also ride a better bike.
All right, we're wrapped up all day here at the Goat Farm. Thank you to Yamaha for having us out to a track that is not at California. No hate comms on California tracks, but we're there a lot. It's nice to ride something different, feel a bike in different conditions. You East Coast guys yell at me a lot saying you never come back east and you don't ride our dirt. How do I know have a setting? So we are here in Georgia, right by Tallahassee, Florida, and it was a great time. That's just first and foremost. I had a great time getting out of California and riding a new bike and breaking it all down. Dallas Dunn's with me. He is my photographer, but also he is very skilled at many different things. Unlike me, where I'm one-dimensional and only fairly good at dirt bikes, he's good at a lot of things. So he rode a little bit today. He's going to bring you the average consumer guy opinion. But for me, first things first, the most asked question that I get through my email is, what can I transfer over from my 22, Keefer, is there anything that I can put on? So yes, there is. Fork, shock, muffler, not the mid-pipe or head pipe, just the muffler, front wheel, rear wheel, sprocket, those things right there will fit. And from what I am told, no, the foot peg mounts, if you guys are going to a -5 and back and down peg, no, your mounts will not fit, but that doesn't matter because this new bike has new ergonomics, and this mount itself and the pegs is 5 millimeters down and back. So that helps this ergonomic package, which we will talk about here in a minute. So what is it like to ride? That's the question I'm going to get asked a lot. What is this like to ride? I want to tell you from a standpoint from a Yamaha guy coming over to this new bike. Dallas is going to cover the Honda portion of it. So he owns a Honda, so he's coming off of that to ride this. For me, it still feels like a Yamaha. So I'm not jumping on this 23 YZ450. I'm like, wow, this is all new. Like I got to relearn how to ride it. No, it still feels like a Yamaha. Sounds like a Yamaha. Some new sounds that I haven't heard before. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But right when you sit on it, first things first is the ergonomic package is just a hell of a lot better than the old model. I'm going to go back home and ride my older bike and it's going to feel ancient. So I'm up higher in the seat. So not only are you on top of it more, actually my knees aren't so cramped up. I have more room when I'm seated. The transfer from being seated to standing is not so drastic, and it just feels more current when you're riding the 23 Honda. This is the first thing that I felt right when I got on the bike. He's 5'8". He also felt like his platform, and he comes from a Honda, is fairly neutral.
Yes.
Yeah, because Honda, for me, has the best rider triangle feel.
Did the old foot pegs, they set lower, right? Or no, higher?
They
right?
were higher up,
Yeah,
yeah.
you feel like it's more of a deeper feeling.
Yeah. So for me, that's one of the first things right when I was riding out to the track. That's what I felt. That's what you Yamaha guys will feel. The second thing is how linear this engine feels. Again, everything is not all cotton candy and rainbows right now. We're at a track that had a lot of traction, but just from me having so much time on an older Yamaha, 22, an older Yamaha, and getting on this one, this stock mapping and this machine, the way they have this new engine layout, because they laid out a bunch of parts for us in the meeting, and there is everything, mostly everything is new in this thing. The piston is the same, but mostly everything else is brand new. It just comes on more KTM-ish. I feel like it's a linear power out of a corner with a little bit more torque feeling than a KTM, where a KTM feels, really smooth but a little bit lethargic at times. This machine has that smooth character but just has a lot more meat. Unlike the 22 YZ450, where it was really grabby and it would upset my corner and I had to tame it down. I really worked hard on an aftermarket ECU setting on my older bike just to make it linear and long. This bike comes with it stock. Like I feel like right now, and messing with the Yamaha Power Tuner, it has a really good feel. My mind goes back to California when we're gonna ride hacked out dry stuff, and this power is gonna be catered to that style of dirt. But out here in the goat farm where we have more traction.
A little harder.
Yeah, and it was hard pack underneath.
Hard pack and blue groove in spots.
But it's very grabby dirt, has more traction than we do at home. So that's the other thing that I felt right when I got on this bike. So Dallas,
yes.
Coming from a different motorcycle, what does the engine feel like to you?
Well, I haven't had a lot of time on a Yamaha. I've kind of not refused to ride them, but I've never been attracted to them that much. I felt that they were pretty big, and
you just didn't like the way they look, fat feeling.
I didn't like the look, and and the sound. Actually, I kind of like it now. Here, the intake sound, it does sound pretty good. Coming from the Honda, there's a few things like breaking the track in and getting used to the bike. I felt like on the Honda, I would have been put in a bad position a lot easier than this bike. It was more compliant. The suspension handled better. Coming in those braking bumps into that, I think in the Honda, I would probably get some head shake through there. This thing tracked well through there.
The frame character itself is just a lot calmer than a Honda.
Yes, a lot, yes.
So one of these things that you're going to notice when you get off of your older Yamaha is second gear is very long, very usable. I can come out of a corner and it's I can use second gear almost down the whole straightaway because we have a 500 RPM increase in over rev. Last year, I had aftermarket ECU. We went plus 250 RPM over, and that felt like a lot, but having 500 extra RPM to rev it out is a huge difference on the track. One thing you guys might notice if you're coming off a 22 Yamaha is third gear maybe not be as luggable as on the 23 as the 22. There is a little bit more of a space between second and third gear. Like I could use third gear a lot on the older bike. This bike, you might have to keep your RPMs up a little bit more. If you want to use third gear, you might have to do the old Jody trick and go up one tooth. I think that will help you. We're on a 49 tooth rear sprocket here. Might want to go to a 50. But for me, I feel like second gear is so usable that I really don't need that extra tooth because I can just shift a little bit later and get in the third and still have enough meat. Going back to some other bikes that kind of feels that way, if you guys want to know about it, is it feels like that with the KTM. Every time I ride a KTM, I have to downshift to second gear because it doesn't pull third gear as good as the older Yamaha. This bike uses second gear similar to the orange bike, but yet it's longer. I feel like I can use second gear longer on this bike and shift a little bit later out of a corner, and I feel like I'm plenty safe to do jumps in either second or third. So that is a welcome change for me. Another little tidbit really quick is I feel less vibration or harmonics through the pegs and the bars. So I do not know if that's the engine layout, how it is. I know the tilt hasn't changed at all, so nothing there is going to make me feel that. But for whatever reason, and I don't know what it is, and maybe I should ask Travis that, but I feel less vibration.
Yeah, it felt a lot less vibration. Like I said, I don't have a lot of experience on the Yamaha, but from other bikes, especially the KTMs, it's pretty good with vibration.
Also, too, what he noticed about the intake noise, I feel like there's less of that with this bike. I feel like it's quieter, even though the muffler is the same from 22. I feel less suction coming from the intake here. That's a quieter note, so I don't get a lot of that hollow, loud suction noise. He wears earplugs. I don't. I tried earplugs. I can't do it. But for me, 6Ds are one of the loudest helmets. I hear a lot with the 6D helmet, and it's a lot quieter on the 23 versus the 22. Okay, let's talk about the chassis. Something that I was really fond of on the older bike. It still has that compliant feel. We had some decent sized bumps here today, but for me, the side-to-side movement feels a lot lighter than previous generation Yamahas. I can get more front wheel traction. I can lean over. I actually had to calm this bike down a little bit because it turns so good. So in stock form, the fork height is at +7. I went down to 5 millimeters. I dropped it, and then I went in on my compression, which is cool because it's toolless. You don't have to use your flat blade now to crank your compression in, similar to KTM. And I went +4, a little bit stiffer. And then the ride height on the new bike is a little bit different as well. So we went to a 97, 98 millimeter ride height, which seems high. I tried going lower. The bike didn't react very well to that. So we're at a 98 millimeter sag reading with a 5 millimeter fork setting, and that seems to give me that straight line stability, that bump absorption that I like, and then also just a better cornering character. All right, so Dallas, you're coming off of a Honda. One of the reasons why you didn't buy a Yamaha, back in whenever you bought your Honda 2 years ago, it's because cornering. So Honda has one of the best cornering bikes out there. What's this bike like to ride?
Yeah, I am not that great in cornering. Sometimes I can get a good corner, and I feel good about it. So I wanted the best bike to help me with the cornering. The Honda corners really well. I did not notice that I had really a lot of struggling cornering this thing. Like I said, I've ridden the old Yamaha a couple of times, and it felt big, and it didn't want to be nimble. Like the Honda's really nimble, and I would struggle. So with this today, I felt pretty good in some of my corners.
So to me, like when you go to ride, is one of your aspects of riding that you have the most fun, is it jumping or cornering?
Both. If I can hit a big jump and have fun with it, but if I can nail a turn or like a rut or like kind of get my bar close to the ground, then that's funner for me.
So for me, with just this chassis, I just have more tire contact patch. You hear me talk about that word a lot, but to me, tire contact patch is very important. I'm a front end steering guy. this still has a front end steering character like the older model, but I just feel more of that tire biting in the ground on area 1, that initial lean, than I did last year. Again, I ride a Yamaha on my time a lot, but the width didn't bother me that much. Only when I hopped on other bikes and got back on Yamahas is when I really like, wow, I can really feel it. It spreads my legs out really far. So this new bike doesn't do that. So that flop, that initial lean is really easy. So that is one of the reasons why I dropped the fork down, to kind of calm me down when I go to lean. So I'm so used to Yamaha feel, like this doesn't take much effort. So dropping that fork a little bit helped my oversteer, because I was getting some oversteer on some of these corners here. So the chassis still has that stable character, yet has better cornering progress for me when I'm coming into area 1, area 2. And then area 3, I still feel a little bit vague.
I kept messing up.
Yeah.
I get a little push, front tire push. What is the front tire, a 33 also?
Yeah, Dunlop MX33 front tire. So for me, I'm not a huge fan of the 33 front. I like a 3S front. I love a 3S.
It's really
and
good.
the 33 is fine in the rear. But for me, I like what Yamaha did. The total weight is down 5 pounds from last year. 5.3. Thank you, Dallas, for being accurate.
Hey, I paid a little bit attention.
But you can definitely feel that when you ride. So to me, a better direction for the chassis. One of the things that Dallas brought up to me before we started recording this was the shroud area. I know he's really a big stickler when it comes to those things. Really quick though, I seem to grip this bike the best out of all the bikes, because although it's narrow in the middle right here, it does bow out a little bit more than other bikes. The Kawasaki is thinner, the Honda is thinner in that area, but that actually helps me squeeze against this bike a little bit.
Yeah, so right away when I pulled away from the shop, that's the first thing I noticed. From right here down, this area is more narrow than
Before, yeah.
Before.
Yeah.
It's still a little wide down here, but I feel myself on my Honda or any other bikes, I'm squeezing and I'm getting blisters on my knees from squeezing the bike right here. Right here, I'm squeezing so much, and my boots are actually
The lower point.
The lower points,
Yeah.
the high, the top of your boot is actually making a lot of the contact, where my knees are freed up a little bit better.
Yeah, you hear Rhino say, unlock your hips, squeeze with your knees. That's accurate, but also you got to squeeze with your knees down. If you're trying to squeeze with your thighs, it's not going to work out so great. So this bike caters to squeezing with your legs a lot. I can stand up longer in my corners with this bike, similar to a KTM, because every time I get on a KTM, I seem to stand up a lot more. This bike is making me do that here today, so I like that.
Getting your foot up, these shrouds, you can really bring your foot up really high with nothing in the way.
We call that a seamless feel, Dallas.
Yes, really
it's very
good.
seamless.
Seamless.
Okay, so moving on to the suspension, we kind of covered that a little bit, but it is a little bit soft for this heavy dirt. I'm 170 pounds. Dallas is around the same weight. We went up 4, obviously, on the compression, stiffer. I slowed the rebound down a little bit.
When did you go up? Because I thought I noticed it after
the second time you rode, we went in.
Yeah.
So I don't tell Dallas a lot of these things that I change, just have him ride it, see if he likes it, and he'll say yes or no. So we call that blind testing,
I
which
noticed
is better.
it on the braking bumps. It felt a little Honda-ish. Not really.
With it in.
But yeah, when you went with stiffer, I noticed it right away.
Yeah, so he's correct. When we go stiffer, you're going to get less plushness somewhere, right? So lean angle plushness might be a little bit less, but I'll get less movement for me in the corner, and that's what I'm looking for. So if you want to split that difference, you can just back out that compression and you get some of that plushness back.
Yeah, this suspension right away, my first lap, I was doing my sight lap, but I know there was a little jump on one of the corners that I could just fly over, no problem. So I blipped it, and it's got a pretty good amount of power, and I went right to flat, and it was when I was coming down, I was like, oh crap, but it soaked it up right away.
Yep.
Nope, my ankles didn't hurt, nothing. I was really impressed with. I'm always impressed with the suspension on this bike.
KYB it's hard to beat. This fork, this SSS fork is hard to beat. Yamaha refused to change it because they say they simply haven't found anything else that has worked better, and I agree with that testing program. If you haven't found anything that's better, why change? Just because other people are doesn't mean you have to, and this suspension is still one of the best suspension out there right now. Another free add to this 23 YZ450F that's been going on for a while is the Yamaha Power Tuner app. This cluster is a little bit different. This handlebar mounted cluster is a little bit different than last year. Still on the fly map switch is still available. The Yamaha Power Tuner tuner app is updated. So now it has all different kinds of features, which is really cool. It's more interactive, easier for us idiots to work. Because trust me, dirt bike people, most of us aren't the smartest people.
It really helps because, like, not to talk about Honda so much, but it is a good comparison because, you know, if I'm running the stock before I had a Vortex on my bike, I would have to put it, you know, be rolling or be in neutral to switch the map. And you know, you explained to me how you could just switch on the fly. Yeah, and that's really helpful.
So we went to a couple different maps, which I'll post up to KeeferInkTesting.com. If you guys plan on getting one of these, I will have maps up. You can just email me, Chris@KeeferInkTesting.com, and I'll get you some maps. Travis Preston gave me a good control torque map. We tried the stock map, and also there's a slide bar similar to the KTM tuner that was available. So we have traction control. You can turn it down, up. You can calm your bike down on low end, or you can make it increase more, so more power out of the corner, so it's easy to use. I actually calmed this bike down between all zeros, which is stock, and the good control map. I went in between there, and that was a good direction. You rode that. You seem to like that.
Yeah, most of the day I was riding the stock map. You know, and the bike has a lot of power. You know, it'll come up on you pretty easy. It's really manageable, but he switched the mapping, and automatically I could ride the bike more aggressive and charging the corners a little harder, and I felt a lot more confident with that map. I can ride the bike harder, and you know, it was smooth power.
Yeah, so it's easy to use. Don't be scared of it. I will have a tutorial up on my website here shortly. We're going to go over it, tell you how to use it, what the features are. It even has a lap timer, so the map switch can be turned off into a lap timer. So if you're out there busting motos like Aiden and I do at times, and just hit this map switch when you start, and then when you do one lap, hit it again, and then that logs your lap, and then every lap you just hit that button and it logs your lap.
That's cool.
Like, it's pretty cool. So there's a lot of new features. Let's cover some things that I don't like. Okay. One is the seat. Although I like the
slippery.
Although I like the height of the seat, it is a little narrow here in the front, and it is slippery, and I've got monkey butt something fierce right now. So we put 4 hours on this bike today, and my butt is raw. And I think it's just the way the seat cover is, it's just slippery.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was paying attention on that last moto out. I would find myself sliding a lot.
Yeah, and this is nitpicky stuff, right? I'm sure you guys can change it and do these things, but for me, it's hard to get used to the shape up here, and it's a little bit firm, which I like in the long run, but right now my butt does not like it. I do not like this bar pad, or whatever they call this thing. I don't think that's going to protect my chin, and which I did today. I overjumped some jumps today that was, whew, I'm glad I'm still here talking to you guys, because this one double in the back got me a couple times, and it was bad, and I smacked my chin right on this sucker, and we're still available, and we're still good here, but it's not that friendly, and the front number plate is not that attractive.
I seen a comment somewhere that said TTR 90 plate on there or something.
I don't know. I mean, I think, you know, you can get an aftermarket plate, but this bike has grown on me since I first saw photos of this bike.
It's grown on me too, you know.
Yeah, when
people talk, you know, they're saying the front fender looks like a supermoto fender. It doesn't look
no,
bad.
And to me it looks sleek. It looks lighter when you just look at it. You come here and you got the short front fender. To me, it looks lighter. I like the way the layout is. I want to talk about this new clutch really quick before we get out of here. So the whole clutch is almost a pound lighter than the previous generation clutch, and it's smaller in diameter. So you can ask the Yamaha guys, I fry a clutch on a 22 YZ450F in 10 hours. It's dragging, it's bad. I was abusing this thing heavily today on purpose.
I found myself using it a lot
and
too.
It worked flawless. The pull is a little bit firmer than last year, but for me, the action is better, and I still have a nice wide window. You can also go to a hydraulic clutch. The GYTR package has that. You can go to that. Eli Tomac does not want a hydraulic clutch. He prefers a cable, but it's nice that it's basically pretty easy to put a hydraulic clutch on this bike. So
it's like 2 bolts, they said.
yeah, it's
really
laid out
easy.
really nice, super easy. So I'm glad they went to a stronger, more durable clutch, because I've had problems with clutch life in the past with this bike. But man, for my first impression, it's fairly good. I don't want to jump the gun yet, but for sure I can sit here and say it is a better Yamaha YZ450. Is it going to win shootouts? I don't know, but it is a better direction for Yamaha. It feels lighter. It's narrower, the cockpit is better, the power is more linear and easier to control. The suspension is as good, as it was last year. So there's a lot of
Suspension's
pluses with this bike. And it's a little bit quieter. It doesn't sound as raspy or a lot of that intake noise.
Yes.
So kudos to Yamaha for doing a great job. I'm going to go back home and ride it and do some other things with it. And I'm going to come back here. Actually, we're going to come back here later next month and ride one of these in some softer dirt than the Goat Farm and pick apart this bike a little bit more so I get some East Coast settings for you guys out there. But if you guys want to learn more, you got more questions for me, Kris, K-R-I-S, at KeeferInkTesting.com is the email. My door is open to you guys. That's why we built Keefer Ink Testing, to ask questions, to help you use your money wisely. And of course, stay tuned for RacerXOnline.com for more videos. We're going to have more about this bike. We'll have a Yamaha Power Tuner app tutorial. We'll get to listen to Dallas talk more.
I'm trying to talk more.
Yeah, he's a very quiet guy, but he did pretty good today.
Thank you.
So, would you buy a YZ450F? Like, let's say you sold your Honda and you're just open to buy whatever. Would you buy one?
It's on the table now, and honestly, it is. It is on
That's
the
great. I
on the
want an
table.
honest answer. Yes.
It's on the table now. Compared to before, it was a definitely no. But I think this bike is improved a lot from what.
Do you notice less vibration coming from this from your Honda? That's one thing about Hondas for me is like it vibrates a lot.
It does. I couldn't tell you that one.
Okay. All right. Well, some people notice it, some people don't. That's why we have guys like Dallas here. So stay tuned for more video over here on RacerX Online. Subscribe. 12 issues, $30. Dallas,
I'm in.
you subscribe?
Yep.
Okay.
I
We're
need
gonna
more
keep him
prints in
around a
my
little bit
life.
more.
We gotta keep print alive.
That's right. You see the beautiful photos up on our website here below our video. That is Dallas. So he does a wonderful job with stills. The guy behind the camera, Spencer Owens, always kicks butt. So thank you to everybody at Yamaha for inviting us out. We had a great time. Thank you to the Star Racing Yamaha staff. All those guys, Brad, Coker, for showing us around. We went and saw Ricky Carmichael's boneyard where he has a KX125 buried in the grass back there.
Crazy.
Saw some ponds, didn't see no gators. I'm bummed I didn't see gators. We're going to have another show over on my show on the podcast. We're going to talk about the tour we had here, what the bike's like, and what the dirt is like. Because for me, that's one of the most important things is how's the dirt. It's amazing.
It's really good. The
nothing.
track is fun too. I mean, there's a lot of jumps, peaky. You know, a lot of the jumps, like you said, you overshot that jump. They have a smaller window of, you know, you have to be more precise.
Hey, look,
here.
the jumps are bigger here than the West Coast. If you guys are coming from the West Coast side of things, they're taller. They have more lips on them. And
Fun, though. I
it's a
had
little bit
a lot of fun.
deceiving at times. So it got me today, but I had a great time and look forward to riding this bike more. We'll get it back to California and we'll take it back over here again. But looking forward to ride it more. So stay tuned for more info right here and we'll see you on the next video.